my name is Simon Webb, and I have a background in engineering and economics, but have spent a long time working on a variety of projects in a range of different situations, starting off in defense. Then I was in HM Treasury, then I was in the Department for Transport, and recently I've been fortunate enough to be with the Nichols Group, again, working on a range of projects, particularly on nuclear infrastructure. Currently, I've got two mentoring assignments that I'm undertaking. One is with the CEO of a small company which has a turnover of under £1 million a year, and the other is with the directors in a government department of a huge infrastructure project worth billions of pounds. So I have a spread of mentoring, and I've done some of this before, but I really enjoy supporting people in reaching their own best decisions, is how I put it. I think the project which still resonates well for me was the final phase of the High-Speed 1 railway at St Pancras project, which, not popularly known, and that in a way is quite a lot of success, hit a hiatus about 3 years before the end, which took a lot of unscrambling. I was the senior responsible officer for it in the Department of Transport. And we had to do a lot of work to get the project in shape again, but we succeeded, and it opened pretty much on time with a royal opening. And it sometimes said it was within budget. I would say fairly, was about 3% over budget. But I think a lot of people think that the railway and St Pancras itself was a good job. And so I feel proud about that. At another level, I feel also proud of having been involved in getting frigates for the Royal Navy earlier in my career, up below the price expected, which was a bit of a surprise. And one of the heroes I shall mention later on was also involved in that. But it made the point that just because it's a public sector project doesn't mean you can't go for good value. And we were fortunate in some ways, but we did it. And I think the Type 23 was a very good frigate. It served the Navy for a long time. It's done 33 years in service, and we designed it for 20. And it was very flexible and adaptable. So I felt pleased with that as a result, but particularly pleased that we got it below the estimated cost. I think I'm risk averse in general, spending the taxpayers' money, and I think you need to pinch yourself and say that somebody out there is paying for every penny you spend, including your own pay. So I am risk averse about trying to be careful not to avoid spending money badly. And I've had a range of projects over my career. Only once have I got a real pasting from the National Audit Office about an IT shared services project, which I deserved. And I felt bad about that. And so I'm generally pretty risk averse. However, in defence, you sometimes need to be bold. Sometimes, and the 23 was an example of that, there were some aspects of that which were bold and needed to be so because you're in a competition. We had a project when I was in defence to take the benefits of what was known from the Northern Ireland times as heli-telly, which was how to get a camera stabilised and operating up on a platform in the sky. And somebody came along and said, you know, we could put some rotors on top of that, and if we were quite clever about it skillfully, this would be a really good battlefield surveillance device. And we had a project called WISP. And I made two errors, really. One was to agree to it being trialed in front of a skeptical audience too soon, and it crashed. And the other was not to go on and keep on trying. Because if we'd done that, this was the late 70s, we might now be world leaders in drones. Lord Levine now, who was then Peter Levine, who had come fairly recently to defence from running a private sector company himself, was a hero in my view, because he said, no, we're not going to pay more for this. We're going to work harder and get it less expensively. So he's one of my role models. In terms of project management, however, I would have to say Mike Nichols, who founded the company that's now my privilege to work for. And Mike was a wonderful person who identified when he was in the car industry that you've got to be able to run projects better than they were doing in that era. And so he decided to set up his own company and try to make a living and a business out of doing that, helping people manage projects better. And one of his early successes was the Dockland Light Railway, which was a new idea and still runs and was delivered within budget and has, you'll have noticed, driverless trains. So he was a great projects person himself, and then became chairman of the Association of Project Management, developing other people for that role, got it a royal charter so that it got the status that it deserved, and really pushed forward the profession. But Mike was also a very lovely person to work with and for, but he would never be deflected from telling the client the really true story they needed to understand about the state of their project. And he would do it very politely, but he would never let up a housing czar. And to do, I think what we succeeded in doing some parts of infrastructure planning on the 2008 Planning Act, which I was involved in, the DCO process of getting a faster and a more reliable process based on a parliamentary vote for getting projects underway. But it irks me that I see going to and fro from my work, homeless people, and I know that a lot of young people have trouble finding somewhere to live. And if I was, had the chance, I would get hold of the housing issue, both the politics, the planning, which I think is actually a lot of the root of it, the land use planning, and the project management challenge of building them more efficiently. So it sounds dull, but actually, if you're asking me, that's what I would really like to do.